Please listen carefully.
This subject that I'm going to talk to you about today, I could literally talk about for hours, so I'm going to really spit quickly and really talk as quickly as I can to try to get it set up because we actually want to show you a film as well. In 2014, Dwayne Yancey, reporter for the Roanoke Times, published an article about the Virginia High School Film Festival, which takes place annually in Richmond. Out of the 104 submissions submitted in Richmond, 2 came from west of Charlottesville. For those of you from out of state, that's about 200 miles from Charlottesville, up and over, and then down 81, down into Bristol. 2 of the 104 submissions. Children of the high school age and middle school age here in this part of the state were not making films. They were walking around with digital phones. They had their iPhones and their smartphones, but they were not actually making films or using that particular medium as a form of expression. In 2015, the theater started we started kicking around the idea of, instead of just showing films to the public, instead of just being a first-run multiplex and a historic independent cinema and a cultural community center and all the things that we try to be, what if we actually helped students make films? So in 2015, the idea of the Grandin Theatre Film Lab came about. And we put together an advisory board. We got some of the right people in the room from the Valley to start talking about what this would look like. And then we started writing grants for it. What you're looking at is the first ever class of the Grandin Theatre Film Lab. I'm not a huge PowerPoint fan, to be honest with you. I've been a professional for so long that I'm sort of run out on the media. So I just have a few slides. I'm not going to try to walk you through them. In 2015, all the grantors that we wrote hit. And all of a sudden, it's weird when you want to start a new program because you don't know what's going to happen until the money arrives, and then the money arrives, and then you race around. We got ourselves a program coordinator. We found ourselves space across the street. We are located in the Grandin CoLab where your reception was last night. And in the fall of 2016, last year about this time, the Grandin Theatre Film Lab was born as a pilot project. And one of the things that we started kicking around was, what is it like to use this medium for teenagers to find their voice from an artistic point of view? And we reached out because we believed that this was a niche that existed in the Valley. No such program existed at this level, at the collaborative level, which I'm about to talk about from a macro point of view and a micro point of view. One of the things that we thought was really interesting was we drew kids all of a sudden from all over the place. The first year class of the Grandin Theatre Film Lab represented 16 teenagers. That's the cap that we put on it. We filled up without hardly any promotion. By word of mouth, this entire program filled up. And we drew kids from 5 public high schools, 2 private schools, and the homeschool community. So you want to talk about a collaborative regional program in its first year. Before they even stepped in the room, their diverse representation was all over the board. Another thing that was really interesting about them is we had more girls than boys, which is crazy because in the film industry, you're looking at almost a 90-10 ratio when you think about the professional film industry, especially in Hollywood and on the West Coast. So for us to draw more girls than boys was a big thing because this was something that we were really talking about. Not only giving kids their voice, but giving young females their voice as well. The kids started with 16 in the class. They ended with 16. 100% retention in the first year of a program, which is insane for us. We couldn't believe that because normally first-year programs, you're starting out of the gate, you're bumbling, you're fumbling a little bit, it doesn't work for somebody. These kids, we realized right away, none of them were dragged into this program. They all wanted to be there. In fact, when you think about theater at the high school level, it's often the only media in places for kids who have an interest in this industry and find their voice in this industry to get into it. If they want to be a film editor or a cinematographer or a gaffer or they want to do lighting, there's not existing programs that really exist for teenagers, especially we found out in this area. So we really wanted to focus on giving them the full complement. When they started last year in September, this is not a movie club. They don't watch movies and sit around and talk about them. They had a full-on SOL compliant curriculum. We have a program coordinator that gets these kids going. They learned about the hero's journey. They learned about framing and manipulation. They learned about lighting, gaffing, editing, sound editing, and the grant money helped pay for 3 full units that we use of high-tech equipment. We put cameras in their hands in the first week and wanted them to start getting the experiential feeling of what it was like to be in the program. In October and November of last year, we put them all down and we said, you have to write your own scripts. Every single one of you, all 16 kids wrote their own scripts. They took their names off the scripts. They were submitted anonymously to a group of adults who were on the advisory committee, myself included. We read them and graded them on a matrix based on numbers our program coordinator gave us. And then the top 4 films rose to the top. And we put the names back on them and to find out who the students were who read the films. 3 out of the 4 films that were going to be made by them, of those scripts, were also written by girls. One of which is sitting in the back of the room working that camera over there. That's Chloe Shelton. She's an 18-year-old first-time filmmaker. Her film, When the Lights Go On Again, which was submitted, we've submitted to 12 or 13 film festivals worldwide. Her first film that she did was a 40s period piece that took place in London during the Blitzkrieg in full regalia. This is a first-time filmmaker. She just won Best Picture at the Clifton Film Festival, which is a regional film festival in Northern Virginia. In her very first effort. And over there on that camera, that's Jacob Ellis. He was the first-time filmmaker for Minor PIs. His comedy was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in 15 minutes. And if I had time to show it to you, I would. But coming out of the gates, hardest genre that you can imagine comedy because it's all about timing and writing, and he did a tremendous job. Both of these 2 students are continuing in the film lab. When we got to building the film lab, one of the pitches that we made was, how is it going to work on a community level? From the macro level, what it did was it gave us the ability to identify that no such program existed in the region, but we had disparate dots that were lying around. We had a film program that happens at Hollins University. We have an emerging screen studies program at Roanoke College. We have the media geeks from Virginia Western who are here this week helping us out. They donated, Virginia Western gave us 6 repurposed iMacs that the kids use Adobe Suite on for their editing. We had professional filmographers and commercial filmographers that work in the Valley that were very interested in helping these kids. So we had all these professionals that were working in the film industry, but we had no unified model. And what we realized as a nonprofit organization and a historic building and a cultural icon, we could be the fiscal agent, we could run the program, we could bring the teenagers up through it, filter them through the professionals who volunteer their time voluntarily, get series of grantors, 3 major grantors, 7 minor grantors to help support it, and then place it here in the village where it could be supported as well. So at the macro level, this became a regional model with which the theater became the centerpiece. It was very easy for us to now collect everybody, get all the people who wanted to be a part of the organization, and then filter them through and get the film lab the money it needed, the equipment it needed, and the professionals coming in to work with them that it needed. The second thing we realized was at the micro level, how could this film lab actually reach out and help the community that it's in? So we started working really strongly to make the village a really amazing place. We have wide sidewalks, we have churches, we have bars. They filmed in cemeteries, they filmed in alleys, they filmed everywhere. And the result of their efforts was 4 films that came out in May. We had this room filled for the first ever Grandin Theatre Film Lab Film Festival, standing room only time I've ever seen it since I've worked here, for a student film festival, 350 people in this room. Now, I've talked so much, and I'm going to run long, but it's okay, I run the place, we can run a little long. What are they going to do, kick me off the stage for student filmmaking? No, what I wanted to do was show you Burden, and Burden is one of the 4 films. This was a film tackled by Phoebe Barker. It's the shortest one we have, so I wanted to show it to you in its entirety instead of showing you a full one. Burden tackles a tough subject about bullying. This film just ended up as a finalist for the 60th Annual Golden Eagle Cinema Awards run out of New York City. This is one of the top 6 teenage films they picked in the country this year out of Roanoke, Virginia. Thanks very much. Go ahead and cue the Burden. And I appreciate you guys being here and supporting kids, supporting independent cinema, supporting nonprofit organizations, cultural community centers, everything that has to do with making your community a better place. Enjoy the film. Thank you.
This seat is taken.
Hey, loser. Nice backpack. How long's it been in the family? Are you deaf? Hey, I'm talking to you.
Dylan, honey, time for dinner.
Anything you want to tell me about school?
Not really.
That's not what your teacher tells me. So, let's try this again. Anything you want to tell me about school?
It's okay. I promise.
Would anyone like dessert? I made dessert.
I don't want dessert. How can I have dessert when my own son, who's sitting at my table, eating my food, is lying to my face?
Here you go. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. You're welcome.
Hey,
Oh, hey.
thanks for the help earlier.
Yeah, no problem. Here, let me take that.
Thanks, but you don't have to do that.
It's really no big deal. You know, it's always easier to carry something heavy like this with someone else's help. Sometimes just taking a little bit of weight off can make a huge difference.
It's been kind of a long week.
Yeah, I can tell. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, there's not really much to talk about. Just schoolwork.
Just school?
Well, there's this kid, Jake.
Yeah?
He rides my bus. He just won't leave me alone.
Anything else?
My dad's been really stressed with work lately. He's been taking it out on me and Mom.
What else?
I'm pretty sure my teacher hates me. I'm sick and tired of it.
Go ahead.
Hey.
Hey, loser. Some nice shoes. Does your mom think you grow into them, or does she want you to join the circus?
Hey, Jake. That's a cool jacket.